Hi, I'm Erin Coley, and I'm excited to share with you parents some information that might blow your mind just a little bit. I know your parents taught you to study in a certain way, and their parents taught them to study in probably that same way, and you just assume that because it's all of their expertise that it is the way to study. Well, according to Benedict Carey, we are all wrong. His book, How We Learn, actually sheds light on different studies that have been done in order to teach us that we are doing things all wrong. And the reason why we're not retaining information is merely because we are looking at it completely wrong. One of the things that he has taught us is that routine is not all that great. Meaning, you know that nice fancy desk that you bought for your kid with the nice fancy light that's nice and bright so that they can study effectively right after school. Well, believe it or not, it's actually more effective for your kids to come home and do some other things and then go and sit on the couch to study, or sit outside and study, or maybe even lay in their bed and study. The key is to do things differently. Don't always allow them to study in the same place at the same time. Change their environments, because believe it or not, alterations enrich their information. They take in all of this information and it's easier for them to retain and to connect with that information later if it is learned in multiple different environments and different ways. So allow them to sit down, allow them to stand up, encourage them to write out their notes or type out their notes, but to do it differently in different ways, because they will be able to retain the information and regurgitate that information more effectively. Another thing that I wanted to address today is testing. Believe it or not, testing is not just a measurement tool. Testing actually alters the way that we see information, the way we learn information, the way we remember that information, and changes the way that we've organized that information in our brains. Testing is not merely for the sake of teachers finding out what your kid knows, so stop complaining about it. Believe it or not, we as teachers are encouraged to test now to pre-test. Imagine this. You are accidentally emailed an entire final exam for a class. What would you do? You would read over that exam, you would search for that information throughout all of your future classes. Everything that you do, you're going to find that information that you need to know. Imagine if we as teachers always give out pre-tests and allow our kids to have a little preview about what it is that they should be looking for. It actually encourages them to learn faster, learn more effectively, and retain more information in the long run. Now, there's something called the fluency illusion. That is when we look over information and immediately regurgitate that information and say, yep, I know it. Believe it or not, it is an illusion for a reason. We don't necessarily know the information just because we're able to regurgitate it right after we read it. The best way for us to be able to regurgitate information effectively and permanently and for long-term knowledge is to actually do some self-examination and self-testing. So don't be afraid to give yourself a test, because testing is going to help you to learn the material. Now, believe it or not, testing is considered studying. So stop complaining about all the tests that your kids are getting. Believe it or not, they are learning through those tests. They're connecting with more information and becoming more intelligent just because they're given these tests. So stop complaining about it. Start believing that it is a different and powerful kind of studying. Don't be afraid of it. Pop tests are also pop quizzes. Those are a really effective way for kids to learn information, because the sooner they get an exam on some information that they were taught, the sooner that they're going to actually be able to completely commit that information to memory. Now, think of tests as a study session. Every test is a study session. Stop complaining about all the tests that your kids are getting and start realizing that that testing is helping them to retain information in different ways, organize the information in their brains better, and continue to search for information that will help them in the future. Well, that's all I have for today. Thanks so much for listening, and have a wonderful day.